Can evolution explain this? Make sure to watch till the end because I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Let's get into it.
Well, first, let's just talk about the fossil record for just a second. So for most of the fossil record, we just have single-celled animals for billions of years, according to standard chronology. And then around, 600 million years ago, we get a blast of what's called the Ediacaran explosion, or just call it the Ediacaran explosion. That's sufficient. And we get these strange life forms that just look like plants, and they don't have any organs, they don't have any limbs, they don't have any like eyes, etc. It's a very simple, like pincushion-like, pillow-like organisms, and they last for a while. And then around, say, you could put at different points, say maybe 543 million years or so ago, you get what's called the Cambrian explosion.
It's the Cambrian explosion.
And that's a big explosion where suddenly almost all the phyla, the body plans that are still in existence, suddenly appear at once. Examples of all the different body plans of animals.
Okay.
Bang! There they are. That's why it's called the explosion. Okay. No transition. In fact, the transition from the Ediacaran, which are these very simple animals, to the Cambrian with all these different body plans is so abrupt. There are studies that put only like a window of 500,000 years between the last time in the fossil record that you see these very simple precursors and then boom, when you get the Cambrian animals. And the Cambrian animals are amazingly complex. They're as complex as lobsters or many modern. That's what fish appear for the first time in the Cambrian, and some of these creatures. I mean, they don't look like, most of them don't look like things that are around today, but they're very complicated and wonderful and amazing and so on. So that's really kind of awe-inspiring.
Yeah,
and they just all appear at once. Okay, and Dawkins admits that. In The Blind Watchmaker, he admits that. He has a famous line where he says, they all appear as if they were just planted there without any evolutionary precursors, and creationists are delighted by this. And, I don't know anybody who disputes that this is a reality of the fossil record. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Stephen Meyer and Darwin's Doubt, because this is an entire book about this phenomena of the Cambrian explosion.
Yeah, the subtitle is The Explosive Origin of Animal Life and the Case for Intelligent Design.
Right, yeah. So if folks are dissatisfied with my kind of lay-level explanations, they can read Meyer, okay? And he goes very methodically through this whole process of thought and looks at all the different options. So you asked what evolutionists say in response.
To not having this
to
fossil record.
Okay.
Yep.
So Dawkins says, this is a true gap. So we need the fossils. The theory demands transitional fossils. They've just been all washed away, or they've been all eroded away.
Right.
It's just a gap. Yep. Okay. That is a minority opinion among paleontologists. Folks that actually work with the fossils probably by and large don't agree with that. Let me give an example. Simon Conway Morris, very, very well-respected biologist, paleontologist. I don't know what exactly his home base would be, but worked at Cambridge for much of his career. He's retired now. Has made some important contributions to...
There's this gap where all of these animals just suddenly appear. Doesn't that sound a little like creationism? Like almost like someone had to put them there? Even atheists admit that. Creationists would get excited because they see this evidence.
The Cambrian wrote an important paper documenting fossil fish, for example, already in the Cambrian. And Simon Conway Morris gave a virtual talk at Franciscan University a couple of years ago. They were Zooming him in, and Q&A afterwards. And I got in line and I wanted to ask him about the Cambrian explosion.
It's the Cambrian explosion.
So Cambridge trained and high up. Don't get much higher than that kind of expert in this field, interviewed and written on this subject. So I asked him, Dr. Morris, about the Cambrian explosion.
It's the Cambrian explosion.
Do you believe it's an artifact of the evolutionary record or the fossil record? That means it's only appears to be explosive because we're missing the fossils below. And if you don't believe it's an artifact, what do you believe is the explanation? And he said, first of all, I don't believe it was an artifact; it was a real event. Okay, so that's interesting. So that kind of contradicts Dawkins.
Yeah.
And then he said, and he was very honest. He said he doesn't know the explanation, but he thinks that an increase in oxygen plus the Ediacaran animals, these simple animals that came before, play into the role of the explanation. Well, I found that very interesting, and I don't fault him at all. He's a lovely man and a fellow Catholic, and God bless him. We'll only wish him the best. But that's not much of an explanation. Okay, a rise in oxygen levels and the Ediacaran animals. The problem with the Ediacaran animals, that's these simple animals that came before the Cambrian ones. A lot of folks don't believe they're related at all to the animals that come later. They believe they just went extinct, and if there is, which most people believe, whatever evolutionary trajectory led to the animals that we see in the Cambrian, it went around the Ediacaran and are just, not captured. Okay, so the Ediacaran aren't helping much. And then the latest evidence shows there wasn't actually a rise in oxygen levels that, and that, so therefore that wasn't a cause of, the explosion of information. Aside from the fact that rises in oxygen levels at best would be a sufficient, might be a necessary precursor for an explosion of life, but it wouldn't be sufficient to explain why we have all this biological information that suddenly appears at a certain point in the fossil record. So, we can do experiments. We can, put animals into high oxygen environments and see if they suddenly, have a huge explosion of information in their DNA, and I can tell you right now, it's not going to do it. It's not going to help. So it really told me that Dr. Morris doesn't have an explanation. I've asked many other people, and really for me, what I've wondered is, why is this not a defeater to the whole theory? And this gets back to Alvin Plantinga. Studying under Plantinga in the philosophy of science, Plantinga employed this idea of a defeater. Mm-hmm. A defeater is like a brute fact that is so anomalous to your paradigm.
Epistemological paradigm.
Yeah, that you just have to abandon the paradigm.
Yeah.
And I've asked many scientists this, okay? Point blank. I'm like, look, this is what the fossil record shows. Why is this not a defeater to the whole Darwinian paradigm? And nobody answers me. Okay.
You've got a book here, Why Evolution is True. Presumably he addresses it in that book.
No, he doesn't. And yeah, let me hold this up. I read this through carefully, and I assign this when I teach religion and science, because I don't want to be somebody who just indoctrinates towards one idea, right? So I tell my students, we're going to read both sides. So we're going to read this, and I've read it carefully, like page by page, all right? What Jerry Coyne's arguments are. And it was really reading Coyne's book that helped persuade me that evolution is not true, at least not in the Darwinian sense.
Right.
Okay.
I believe God created the world. He created everything, all things in something created from nothing. That's where you have a big problem with a lot of people, because you have to believe that something created from nothing, and there's no evidence ever that nothing created nothing. But if you believe that there's a God, it's actually more reliable evidence. Anyway, guys, I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the waters, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness." That is crazy that there is some crazy, all of a sudden, there's no records for this type of animal, then all of a sudden they just explode onto the earth. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought on this. I'd love to hear them. I'm not that experienced in this topic, so it was lots of learning for me and understanding, trying to understand. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe. If you haven't, I would love for you to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.